What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we are bringing it back to our John Wick series marathon of films with John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. As short as this journey has been, it has been a heck of a fun time. If you saw my reviews for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, you know that for the most part I like Chapter 2 more than 1. Why? Mostly because of technicalities. It was technically made better on a lot of different areas, specifically when it came down to visual, cinematography, and things like that. It knew what it wanted to be from a self-aware perspective. And it executed that self-image a lot better than I think John Wick Chapter 1 did. And Chapter 1 may have had a more memorable story, but the story in Chapter 2 was more fleshed out. It made more sense from an intelligent level. So it stands to reason that if I scored Chapter 2 better than Chapter 1, that I would score Chapter 3 better than Chapter 2. But we all know that we cannot predict movies this way. We cannot say a movie's going to be better than 2 because 2 is better than 1. It can be bad, it could be great, it could be terrible. But you already know that. So how is Chapter 3? Is it better than Chapter 2? Well, we'll get into that. First, what's this movie about? Well, obviously, it's the continuation of Chapter 2, specifically more so than Chapter 2 was a continuation of Chapter 1. Because this movie really started at the end of Chapter 2 when John Wick killed somebody on hallowed ground. That made him excommunicado, which basically means the same thing as having a hit placed out on you, because that happens as well. But excommunicado basically means that other people can't help him. If they help him, then their lives are put into risk. So he's really alone in this venture. I mean, people will end up helping him because without help, you really can't have a good narrative. But that's really what this movie is about. It's a big fat manhunt, just like Chapter 2 kind of was in the same regards. It's just a lot bigger. So this movie's pretty insane, just like Chapter 2. It's high octane, high action, high everything. The story, though, is not as fleshed out as 2. It's just like 1, where it's super simple. Where 1 was a vengeance story, this is a survival story. And survival is just like vengeance. It's easy just to throw it into a script and call it a day. And that's mostly what happened. They're like, okay, so John Wick is just gonna survive in this one and then fight everybody that comes his way. And that's basically what this movie is. The story itself is not that fleshed out. I mean, they try here and there to make it its own thing, to make it stand out above the rest, and for the most part, their attempts at that does work, because we have seen a lot of manhunt films before. We have seen a lot of people just trying to survive before. But you always have to make an active attempt to make it different than one another, and again, John Wick Chapter 3 does that in this film for a variety of different ways, but it is what it is. This one had the introduction of Halle Berry, and she does a really good job of basically being Jane Wick. She's not Jane Wick, she has her own name like Sophia or something, but she's basically Jane Wick. She has a love of dogs, she has the same fight maneuvers as John Wick, and you know what, I actually liked her character. Her role in this movie is probably one of my favorite roles Halle Berry has ever done in her career. Not my most favorite, that's probably Storm, but she does a great job here, and the fact that she has these dogs as part of her weapon really helps her stand out above some of her other roles in the past. As for John Wick, I really like that they allowed him to step outside of the safe zone of just gun fu. They did some hand-to-hand combat, they did some knife throwing stuff, they did some horse fighting. It's really hard to explain to you what he does with horses specifically, but it's over the top as this movie should be, and it's great. Whatever. I also like the theme of honor among thieves in this film. On one hand, it really gets the idea across that it's really business and not pleasure, but on the other hand, it really takes away the feeling that this is personal for one person or the other. It doesn't really feel like it's personal for anybody in this movie. It's just like a bunch of killers going after each other because that's their job and nothing else. I am starting to lose my grasp on how this is a personal thing for John Wick when it comes down to his connection with his wife, with that puppy. I no longer feel that. It's just John Wick fighting people to fight people because people want to see John Wick fighting people to fight people. And I feel like audiences just need something that connects them to his character on an emotional level. They were able to do that with John Wick 1. There was a little bit of it in John Wick 2, and I feel like it was a ghost in John Wick 3. It just wasn't there as much anymore. That's probably one of my main complaints about this movie, other than the fact that the story just isn't there and isn't really fleshed out, and it just feels like it's thrown in there to be thrown in there. I mean, once you start ignoring all of the slight problems this film has, you start to realize, well, once again, the fight choreography, the cinematography, the visuals, they are explosively amazing. I wouldn't say the visuals are as good as, say, John Wick 2, as that was really good from beginning to end. This one had really good visuals towards the end of the movie. But what I will say is that the music choices in this film is better than I think one or two ever had. There was a way that it edited together these fight sequences together with some music that I really actually liked for whatever reason. Also some sound editing, some sound effects that were thrown in there was always great. And one thing that I never actually mentioned in my reviews for whatever reason for John Wick 1 and 2 was their ability for their attention to detail when it came down to like bullet science. He doesn't have an unlimited bullet gun. He always reloads in the movie 1 billion times, and that's awesome. And the way that it do it doesn't distract you from the action at all. It's always an adrenaline rush to watch him reload, even though it's every 4 to 5 seconds. And with every different gun, there's a different way to reload it, and it honestly makes the movie feel more unique because it's not an unlimited bullet gun. But again, just like John Wick 1 and John Wick 2, there's so much to love about the series as a whole, and the same can be said about John Wick 3. Basically, any and all negative things that I have to say about this movie, it's all about technical things. It's nothing that I personally don't like about the movie or personally think is bad about the movie. Maybe this movie doesn't have much story depth, like I said before. Maybe it doesn't feel as original anymore because it is a story that just feels like it's thrown in. Whatever. It's nothing that shouts out terrible. It's just stuff that could have been done better. I am definitely looking forward to seeing John Wick 4, though. I hope Trinity comes into play. I hope Carrie-Anne Moss shows up, and then John Wick and Morpheus and Trinity can all work together to take down the big bad, the high table. Woo! But yeah, I mean, that's it. My score for this movie is 83%, 83 out of 100 possible stars. If you're curious on where that ranks in my John Wick series marathon, I would have placed it in second place, right below John Wick 2 at 89%, and right above John Wick 1 at 81%, 83%. Guys, tell me what you thought of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum in the comments down below. And as for YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe to me, hit that like button, and hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!